Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a seriously dense and epic piece of battlefield history, and we're going to break down the incredible narrative hidden right there in the source text. We're looking at a deeply dramatic, incredibly violent clash today. It's a story that centers on duty, facing just totally overwhelming odds, and those dark, gritty moments when the accepted rules of engagement are thrown completely out the window. We are analyzing the famous account of the fall of Abhimanyu. Okay, so let's jump right into this by starting at the moment of peak desperation. Before we map out the exact tactics that led up to this point, I really want you to focus on this core phrase taken directly from the text, left all by himself. It sets up the ultimate isolation of our main guy. I mean, just imagine the sheer terror and the immense psychological pressure of being a lone warrior, standing out there on a chaotic battlefield and being completely severed from your allies. To really understand the gravity of that absolute isolation, we need to step back and look at exactly how he got there. Section 1. The Catalyst for Revenge. Right, so before the trap was ever even sprung, a huge emotional shift happened among the commanding forces. We have to understand the motive here. And it all begins with the overwhelming outrage of a grieving father. The text explicitly tells us that Duryodhana was absolutely livid over the murder of his son. The source connects this pivotal moment to a roster of fierce warriors who fell or were involved. We're talking about guys like Lakshmana, Vrenda Anika, Brihatbala, Ashvaketu, and the Boha prince, Martakavakta. So, you see, we aren't just looking at cold, calculated military strategy anymore. Actually, scratch that. It's more like strategy completely hijacked by raw, burning vengeance. The grief of a father fundamentally changed the battlefield dynamic for everyone involved. And get this, it brilliantly illustrates how that raw emotion shifted the battlefield tactics in real time. Because of his outrage, Duryodhana directly instructed Drona to alter their original battle plan. The new objective? A highly targeted assassination plot aimed directly at Abhimanyu. Think about the sheer logistical weight of that for a second. An entire war machine pivoted on a dime, driven by a personal vendetta rather than standard military maneuvering or territorial gain. Moving to Section 2. Cut off and isolated. To see how they actually managed to corner a warrior of this caliber, we have to look at the execution. A targeted assassination obviously requires isolating the target, and the trap is sprung perfectly by a commander named Jayadratha. According to the source, Jayadratha successfully stops the allied Pandavas forces dead in their tracks. He ultimately vanquishes all four of them on that front, creating this massive, impenetrable wall between Abhimanyu and his backup. This is the exact tactical maneuver that set up our opening scene. It effectively cut off any hope of reinforcements, leaving Abhimanyu entirely on his own against a rapidly advancing army. Section 3. Breaking the rules. Now, to ensure this assassination actually succeeds, an absolute moral line gets crossed. The text introduces us to Duryodhana's infamous uncle Shakuni. You know, ancient warfare was usually governed by strict, mutually agreed upon codes of conduct, things like one-on-one combat, fairness, honorable engagement between equals. But Shakuni? He devises a strategy that completely violates those established rules of war. He orders a simultaneous attack. It's a deliberate, calculated decision by the high command to just abandon honor in favor of guaranteed lethal efficiency. They didn't just want to defeat Abhimanyu, they wanted to annihilate him without giving him a fair chance to fight back. Just look at the sheer, overwhelming force stacked up against him here. The strategy wasn't just to have a wave of low-level foot soldiers rush him. No way. Abhimanyu is immediately assailed by 6 legendary Maharathis. These are the elite chariot warriors of the era: Duryodhan, Dushasan, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Karna, and Shakuni himself. All 6 of these elite commanders attacked a single, isolated warrior at exactly the same time. The scale of this rule-breaking is just staggering when you see these historic names converging on one single target. The text then outlines a systematic, brutal dismantling of his defenses. It wasn't just a chaotic brawl. It was a methodical, terrifying takedown. It's like a checklist. Step 1. They demolished his chariot, instantly taking away his primary platform and high ground. Step 2. They killed the horses, totally neutralizing his mobility. Step 3. They broke his weapons, stripping him of his offense and reach. And finally, Step 4. An unarmed, grounded man was shot with numerous arrows. They stripped away every single conceivable advantage, leaving him utterly exposed to this illegal combined assault. Section 4. The Chariot Wheel Stand. Despite the totally insurmountable odds and the complete destruction of his gear, We reach the most visceral and, frankly, astonishing part of the account. Even though the text explicitly notes he was exhausted, bleeding heavily, and facing an entirely hopeless situation, Abhimanyu refused to yield. He reached into the wreckage of his demolished transport, picked up a broken chariot wheel, and used it as a weapon. He just continued to fight. This moment is the ultimate distillation of survival instinct and sheer, unyielding defiance. Armed with literally nothing but a broken piece of heavy wood and iron, he incredibly manages to inflict serious damage. Imagine the immense physical strain of lifting a massive, splintered chariot wheel and swinging it like a mace against fully armed and armored troops. Yet, the source tells us he actually succeeded in striking down numerous Gandhara soldiers in this final display of willpower. Even when stripped of his chariot, his horses, his bow, and his sword, his combat effectiveness remained absolutely terrifying to the enemy ranks. Section 5. A Hero's Tragic End. But, human endurance has its limits, especially against 6 elite commanders and an entire advancing army. The fatal strike in this epic encounter doesn't come from a grand cinematic duel of equals. It's abrupt and it's brutal. Abhimanyu receives a massive blow to the head from Dashasha's son. This catastrophic blunt force strike ultimately causes him to succumb to his accumulated wounds. The sheer physical toll of the arrows, the utter exhaustion, and finally this decisive trauma brings the lone warrior down. But pay close attention to the final judgment passed by the source text itself. Even though his enemies threw away every shred of their honor, broke the established rules of ancient warfare, and literally ganged up on him just to secure a kill, the text immortalizes Abhimanyu directly. It states simply, "And he died as a hero." His legacy wasn't defined by the fact that he was killed, but by the extraordinary final stand he made when the situation was entirely hopeless. So I want to leave you with this final thought to consider about the true cost of victory. When morality and rules of engagement are completely abandoned on the battlefield, as we saw with the 6 elite commanders, who truly wins? I mean, the victorious side secured their assassination and won the skirmish for sure, but history and the text remember their actions as a cowardly violation, while the defeated, isolated warrior is the one immortalized forever as a hero. That's all for this explainer. Keep questioning what you read between the lines, and I'll catch you in the next one.